Welcome back to News Channel 3 Live at 9. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
It's true.
Apparently, is it? Is it true?
Yeah.
So I should have saved you some of the French
but
toast.
you didn't. You weren't trying to get to my heart, obviously.
I'm trying to keep your weight down.
Whatever you say.
That is true for all of us. That is the heart and stomach thing. We're all obsessed with eating, it seems, from dining out to dieting, the cookbook craze, the whole celebrity restaurant thing, all of it. America is obsessed.
Completely obsessed indeed. Dr. Frederick Kaufman examines America's food fixation in his brand new book, A Short History of the American Stomach. Doctor, welcome to Live at 9. Good to see you here this morning.
Likewise, great to see you.
Love that title.
You get right to the heart of it, or to the stomach of it for sure.
Right to the gut.
What about this fixation for food? Where did this kind of come from?
This is so interesting. Washington Irving, one of our first great writers, mentioned this in 1801 in a magazine article, and he discussed America's food mania.
Really?
Food mania?
All the way back then, people eating nuts in the theater and crunching oysters on the street. Wherever he went, people were eating and eating lots. Early European visitors to this country would come and say they're carnivores.
Are you serious?
They eat too much meat, it's unhealthy. And of course, on the other hand, you have even earlier the Puritans, guys like Cotton Mather, are saying we have to eat healthy. They're the first health food gurus.
Really?
Absolutely. And not only, you know, what's interesting about it is you think we have this incredibly strange eating landscape, eating too much, eating too little.
Right.
It was the exact same thing 400 years ago. People were really concerned about obesity. They were really concerned about anorexia. And not only that, there was bulimia.
400 years ago, those concerns were there?
Yes.
And this was unique to America. So the Europeans who still eat when they're hungry and they eat these little tiny portions and look at us as big gluttons, they were still looking at us in that way, like, what are they doing over there in the New World?
Remember the basic facts. A lot of people come to this country because they're hungry.
Well, that's
and they get here and they have never seen so much food. I mean, the New York markets back in the 1820s and the Jacksonian period, you could buy badger, you could buy skunk, you could buy
skunk?
Hedgehog.
if you wanted to.
Skunk is supposed to be very delicious. I haven't tasted it.
Tastes like chicken.
Haven't tasted it.
And the panther steaks were also supposed to be very good.
Panther steaks?
Panther steaks,
like,
absolutely.
Like Ruhr panther?
Ruhr panther.
Really?
No, you don't have to do that gesture with you.
Ruhr panther.
I'm thinking, So that's just amazing to me, because we think when we got word of the book and your visit, we thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect, because everybody's very worried right now about the fact that many Americans are overweight. I mean, I think 60% of the population's overweight. A large population is obese. Yeah. This is not new.
No, people have been very concerned about overweight Americans really since the time of the Dutch in New York. Now, of course, the Puritans up in Massachusetts, they are very thin and always very focused on the purity of their system.
Okay.
Kind of like the way foodies might be today.
Right, the whole organic thing.
Right, organic, vegan, octo, low, you know, whatever it is. Right. Whereas the Dutch, a couple of 100 miles to the south, were huge eaters and eating the turtle soup and eating all those donuts and
Rich
crullers.
food. Yeah.
And so from the beginning you have this, you know, we academics call it a dialectic, or two opposites.
Right.
You have the very thin and you have the very fat, and of course they're always crossing in strange ways.
Do you see that today, Doctor? I mean, from a regional standpoint, are we eating differently in the South as opposed to people up north or out west? What do you see there?
It is regional, and of course it also has to do, it helps us do with money. I mean, you're looking at organic food, which has become a big business in and of itself. But I don't know if I'm going to be spending $6.50 for a quart of milk.
Right, right.
And I think that there's a great controversy going on in terms of what we should eat, because a lot of people are saying we have to eat more locally grown foods, we have to eat foods which are organically grown, and then of course this becomes a class issue, because who can afford to have their entire diet based on these foodstuffs?
Absolutely.
Particularly with the economy where it is and with food prices. We're going to be looking at higher food prices in the spring, particularly meat, because over last summer there was less production of meat due to the higher costs of inputs. In other words, when oil was high over the summer, they cut down on all their herds because you have to feed them. And now, as we move into the spring, we're going to see higher prices on meat.
If we pull away from meats, are there other foods we typically go towards?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you don't eat meat. What you end up doing is eating more grains and more vegetables in your diet. But of course, in America, what also happens is because we have so many processed foods and we have so much of our food industry, is that of course we end up eating the more bang for the buck plastic container of high calorie, high sugar, which of course might not be the best health choice for us.
I am still so curious about the fact that this is such an American phenomenon. Do you think it had anything to do with the fact that we were a melting pot? We had Italians coming over with their particular cuisine. We had Irish coming over with their particular, potatoes, and that was it. But you know what I mean. Europeans, do they have the variety of food?
Europeans have a very different history. Their history goes very far back, and they have their own particular foods that they're interested in eating. Their classic Italian cuisine, classic Spanish cuisine.
They don't mix.
Everybody here has come here from somebody else, comes here anew, and there is this great dream of the city on the hill of perfecting yourself in this country.
Right.
Perfecting your body, perfecting your life. A lot of this has to do with eating choice. On the other hand, people come here from all over, and what they want to do is expand. They want more in this country. And guess what? There is room for expansion in this country. There is room for more in this country. And I call this, instead of manifest destiny, manifest dinner. And there's this great impulse to consume it all. I mean, there is a name, in fact, for consuming everything in sight until you're not hungry anymore. And the name for that is the American dream.
Oh.
That's a very good way to put it. It really is.
What a fascinating way to look at America and at our culture and where we're going now. We're still obsessed. We're just obsessed in a different way.
We've been obsessed for a long time
Very
with our
cool.
food. Doctor, thank you.
And you can meet Dr. Frederick Kaufman, public lecture on this very subject tonight at 6. Eat before you go. Fogelman Executive Center, room 136. He's brought here by the Humanities Department of the University of Memphis. Fascinating. Are you going to have food tonight?
I am definitely eating tonight after the lecture.
Oh, okay.
Smart man.
You bring your little peanuts, but eat them quietly.
Thank you, Doctor, very much.
It was a pleasure
so much.
to meet you.
Thank you.
All right.
Fascinating.
We'll be back in just a moment.